Our third witness is Tim Rustem, who's a criminal defence solicitor who specialises in serious sexual offence cases. You, I think, don't object to anonymity for the complainant, but want the defendant to be anonymous also, right up to the point of conviction. Why should serious sexual crimes be treated so differently to other crimes?
Unfortunately, they are very different to other crimes. I think it's been aired already on the programme, but there is a stigma that's attached, which is quite specific to sexual offences. If you murder people,
there's a fair stigma to that too, isn't there?
It's a different type of stigma. One of the problems is very often people who face these sort of cases, they have families, so you have to look at the interests of not just themselves, but their wife, their partner, their children. Often they're employed, they could have businesses. We represent a number of professionals, and unfortunately it is a type of offence which we do find a lot of false allegations being made for various reasons, and therefore we need to be very careful in naming an individual certainly until they're charged, and in my argument is until a verdict is reached.
And Matthew Denham?
I just don't understand why that's different for other people. I mean, I hear you say we should be particularly worried about damaging the reputation of professionals. I'm not quite sure why they would get special status here, but why is it? I mean, people accused of murder, of fraud, they've got families, businesses, they've got all that stuff. There's all that collateral damage for them. Why is sex different? Sex crimes different?
To give you an example, if somebody is convicted of a sexual offence, they will go onto a sex offenders register, which has implications for the rest of their life, effectively.
If they're convicted.
If convicted. So we're already treating that offence, sexual offences, as very different in terms of punishment, because even after a sentence is served, they will have restrictions on all sorts of things, from employment through to travel, which carries on for the rest of their lives. So, in a sense, it is already being treated differently. On top of that, murder cases, whilst obviously it's a good example, they're a minimal number of cases compared to the number of allegations coming forward for sexual offences. What we find is to give an example, we represent a lot of people who are, up until the point of that allegation being made, have never been in trouble with the police before. So it's a very unusual situation for them to find themselves in.
But I mean, is it your view that what is happening at the moment is that the Crown Prosecution Service and the police are prosecuting far too many people? Is that the basis for your concern?
It's a slightly... I've got to be careful what I say here, but my view, and certainly other professionals, is that there's a bit of a political agenda going on at the moment. Right. I think following the police inaction perhaps over various matters such as the News of the World issue, also Savile, we're seeing that prosecutors are now looking back over a lot of old cases.
Right. So it might be a reaction then, but isn't it a reaction to a much bigger problem than the problem of falsely accused professionals, which is the number of men who have got away with it and have continued to commit sexual crimes?
It is not about professionals. It is about normal members of the public who have families, who have partners who
it's
find
being
themselves
accused of something.
Of course
I understand
it is.
that.
Of course it is. But we have a fundamental principle of English law that you're innocent until proven guilty. If you
but you're
name
not calling
somebody,
for anonymity for all accused.
No, not at all. What I'm saying is that if you're accused of a sexual offence, we're dealing with that at the moment, that should be extended until a decision is made. Once a decision is made, that will be aired. Now, there can be exceptions to that. Examples that have been given are encouraging people to come forward where there's multiple victims, complainants, whatever you want to call them. An application can be made to a judge in chambers. We trust judges with similar applications on public interest immunity applications, for instance. So where there is a case to be made, the police prosecution can come forward, present an argument to the judge to allow anonymity to be lifted in individual cases.
Claire Fox.
Just when you make the point about rape and sexual assault being very different,
yes.
Is it the nature of the offence that's different, that's more heinous?
It is. I mean, I can tell you I deal with a range of offences, and I can, in my opinion, sexual offences, even when I see clients or for their families when they come in to see me, you can tell from their reactions that it's a very different type of...
but I mean, is it the offence? I mean, forgive me, but there are people at the moment who are being accused of, committing genocide in different, in this country, being accused of that, or
yes.
Jimmy Savile, or terrible child abuse. I mean, what is it that makes it so heinous? Are you saying it's the nature of the offence that makes it heinous, or the way it's treated in society?
Sexual violence, I mean, it is a slightly unusual area. It is also an area, unfortunately, that lends itself more to false allegations. For instance, breakup of marriages, custody battles over children, or all sorts of matters, financial reasons. So
it's not the nature of the event. It's not the nature
it is both.
of the
It is both. I think it's the nature. It's a type of offence that we're dealing with. It is the details of that offence sometimes as well. But you are then going to drag in a person's character. You're going to drag in also their families through a whole process, which ultimately, if they are acquitted, they have to then piece all that back together again.
But in the intro, but I mean, to be honest, that any good thorough cross-examination of somebody who's been accused of child abuse, even if they're innocent, or genocide for that matter, it's got a bit of putting together again. But just in terms of what makes these crimes different, you mentioned CPS. Maybe politicisation. I mean, or I'm saying that, not you. Well, but I kind of, if I could just finish, or get to the point quickly, that are by treating sexual offences and rape differently, for example, by anonymity, are we ourselves not actually treating it as a special case, and that makes the stigma worse in a way?
Whether we like it or not, I think it is a special case. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the fact that police and prosecutions and even judges have specialist training to deal with sexual offences over and above other offences.
That's kind of relatively recently as part of this kind of like... Yes, but that's all I'm saying is that, to take Germaine Greer's point, I mean, maybe you could respond to that, or that kind of old feminist argument, which is that sexual abuse is just violence. We shouldn't let it be treated differently. Women shouldn't hide behind anonymity, no more than anyone else. This is just a terrible crime, should be tried like all other crimes, and then we have no stigma.
I think the difficult one of the biggest questions that are asked to me by we have, for instance, if you look at the recent statistics in London, almost half of these cases aren't going through to a conviction. That means at least half of these cases, the person making the complaint hasn't been believed. Okay, that there is a serious problem there, and it's slightly less in the rest of the country, but it's still a major problem. And one of the reasons for that is because I don't think there's a thorough examination of the evidence. The CPS are duty bound to look at the evidential test. Is there sufficient evidence to prosecute somebody? That's a very difficult decision to make, and I think it's being made too easily at the moment for various other reasons. Hence, cases like Michael Le Vell, where prosecutors are looking back over a case where another prosecutor's ruled out prosecuting it and taking it forward. And you have to ask yourself why.
I agree.
Tim Rustem, thank you very much indeed.